Hey, what's going on, ADPI Nation? Kevin Brenner, host of the Active Duty Passive Income Podcast. And I'm back with another fantastic guest. Jason Wright is here. And for listeners of this podcast, and you're wondering what you're going to get out of it in the next 30 to 45 minutes, we're going to be talking about something that we haven't really talked about in a while. And that is the Client Relationship Manager, or CRM. What are they? Why do people use them? And really, what are their applications to the real estate investor kind of world, like our realm, our sandbox, if you will, that we play in? Why would anyone even consider getting a CRM? So Jason is an expert in Active Campaign, which is a CRM, but it's honestly, it's probably like, I would say, Jason, it's probably like the world's largest maybe CRM. It's one of the most accepted CRMs out there.
Yeah, it's a big
And
one for sure.
yeah, it's one of the big ones. Like you got your HubSpot, you got your Active Campaign, and I'm trying to think of like some other like massive CRMs that have been around. Mailchimp, like those are kind of the big
Mm.
boys. So Jason is an expert in actually setting up businesses on Active Campaign, but also what he's doing now is he's helping capital raisers. So people who need to raise some capital, whether it's through a syndication, maybe it's a joint ventures, whatever you're doing to scale up your real estate business, he is going and helping capital raisers by tailoring their marketing using Active Campaign and all of the joy that is Active Campaign, because the software is just so powerful. Like it just kind of blows your mind, and it kind of makes you like, when I started getting into this and learning this, Jason, like CRMs, and it was like, oh my god, like this computer is tracking where I'm clicking on this website, and this CRM is telling me. And it's like the data that your computer and the internet keeps on you, like as you like click around or as you move your mouse, like heat maps and like all this stuff. It's like a little bit intrusive, but then when you're on the other side of it, it's like, oh, this data is super helpful, and I can reorganize my website. I can send emails based on what people click on, and just automatic. And by doing that, it really can explode your business. Whatever you're trying to do, whether it's raise capital, sell products, do whatever you're trying to do, that is the true power of CRM, and that's what Active Campaign and others can do. So, Jason Wright, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so let's bring this back to basics for people who are listening to this podcast and like, what in the heck is a CRM? So, in your definition, what is it?
Yeah, I mean, a CRM is a piece of software where you can keep all the relevant information on one of your contacts, right? A contact is somebody you have an email address for, name, phone number, address, any tags, any lists they're on, et cetera, et cetera. It's also great for keeping notes, whether you've had phone calls or exchanged emails or text messages. So it's just a place to keep all that information digital and super organized. And it can be as simple or as wild as you want it to be, just kind of based on the different amount of fields that you create for that. So everybody's style is a little bit different, but really helps you keep organized and compliant with a lot of things online.
Yeah, 100%. And think about it like, back in the day when people had Rolodexes on their desk and they're going through, or they had the little black book where they'd keep addresses, like
Yeah.
addresses and phone numbers. Like that really is what it is, but now it's all online.
Yep.
And if you've ever gotten, everyone here has gotten marketing emails. It just happens. It's impossible not to. You buy a product online and they start emailing you and all that. That's all from a CRM. Just
Yep.
because you clicked buy on that product, your information, you had to probably type in your email address, maybe to get a 10% discount or this or that. Boom, that instantly goes to their CRM. Then you get tagged as a prospective customer, and maybe they start hitting you with marketing emails. Hey, did you use your 10% discount yet, or whatever? And all of that, but it's all automated and it's all built out. So if you're kind of like a data nerd and a little bit kind of into building out businesses and entrepreneurship and architecture, like internal software architecture, CRMs can be really, really powerful and really, really fun. But it all kind of falls under this umbrella, this key component of any business, and it's marketing. You can have the greatest product on planet Earth that cures every cancer out there, but if no one knows about it, no one's going to buy it. So marketing is so, so, so important. Jason, let's, when we're talking, actually, I kind of want to hear more about your story. Let's bring it back to your story and how you kind of got into this field of marketing and building your business, which I want to hear about. But then also, you made a turn recently to working specifically with real estate investors and entrepreneurs. How did that happen?
Yeah, so I'll tell you how the story ends before I tell you how it begins. It was all an accident, so that's how it ends. So to rewind how it began, about 7 years ago, I was in bed one night with my wife sleeping, and I woke up and I said, "Intentionally inspirational." She's like, "What is that?" I said, "I don't know. It's going to change our life. It might be a business or a blog or something. I don't know what it's going to be." She's like, "Whatever. Go to sleep." So I started working on this blog, and I was really motivated to get out of corporate America. I hate people controlling my time. I hate not having creative freedom. So I started working on these blog posts teaching people or talking to people about quitting the 9 to 5, but I hadn't done so myself. So I kind of felt like an imposter, but I was like, I'm on my journey, and I made that clear. So anyway, I start pushing this blog out there just on my personal social media. Nothing really happened. So I was like, well, maybe if I learn a little bit of marketing, I can at least get it in front of a broader audience. So I started to go down that path, and I was like, man, I should make a little money while I'm doing this. So I went on Upwork and I started writing for other people, blogs and creative writing and stuff, make a little money. And then I started noticing other people searching for the same stuff that I had taught myself, Facebook ads and active campaign and click funnels and all kinds of stuff. I was a Jason of all trades back then. No idea that there was even a consistent part-time business in all of this. So continue forward, convinced my wife to let me quit corporate. And the plan wasn't to grow this business per se. It was to find something to do online so I could work for myself. I was like, hey, we got 6 months of savings in the bank, which was a lie, not on purpose, but I didn't know how to use math apparently. And I was like, hey, I'm going to start these neighborhood magazines and life's going to be great and we'll recover our income in 3 months. She's like, okay. So I quit and I start doing this stuff that I told her. In about 2 months, we're out of money. I remember sitting in the room above where I'm at now, looking at our bills going, that's not good. Like, I don't know how we're paying these, but
All
the
right,
math,
everyone, turn off the lights. Turn
yeah,
off the lights.
yeah. I was like, that's not good. So I had sold some deals for this magazine, but the problem was you didn't get paid anything until it went to print. So I was nowhere near getting this magazine to print. Long story short, it fell on really hard financial times. Had to ask one of my aunts to buy us groceries for 6 months. Sold a bunch of outdoor stuff and guns and all the stuff I cared about to be able to pay the bills, right? It was not a good situation, but the whole time I'm trying to work on this little side business of mine, trying to work on these magazines, and then just kind of everybody in my life's like, you idiot, what are you doing? Family, friends, neighbors. I'm like, why are you in my business? Why do you want to see me fail? And people kind of were rooting for my failure. So just kept chugging away on Upwork, little marketing jobs here and there, not even every month. So I went back to corporate, my tail between my legs, did a lot of inside sales, mortgage company, publishing packages, sold cars at CarMax. And started to get some traction, right? Started to say, okay, there's a couple platforms that I like working in. There seems to be a demand. ClickFunnels was really big for me back then. And fast forward, after about 18 months back in corporate, I was making consistent part-time money every month. And it was kind of rivaling my full-time income, which wasn't much back then. And my wife's like, to my surprise, why don't you just quit? Because this is never going to end. Quit your day job, go full throttle with this marketing crap, and let's see what happens. So we did that. And by the end of that first year, we hit 6 figures in revenue, which was great because I didn't even have a full year to do it. And we started doing marketing for anybody who would pay us, right? And back then it was more architecture, like I could build stuff, but I didn't really understand the strategy. So over time, when I worked with successful clients, I started seeing things that were, started seeing the patterns, right? Started understanding the strategy. About 5 years ago, I said, all right, we're not doing everything in marketing. We're going to focus on the sales funnel. So paid traffic back then, landing pages, websites in the back end. And then, and I was active campaign specific on the back end for the last 5 years. And then about a year ago, I said, I'm not going to do the paid traffic thing anymore. Actually, no, I'm wrong. That was this January. I said, I'm not going to do the paid traffic thing anymore for clients. I'm not building websites anymore. Active campaign only. I think there's a business here, only active campaigns. They keep growing. I know the software really well and it's really powerful. And then in January of this year, I was at a Raise Masters event. It was IIREC in LA. I got to speak on a panel with Hunter Thompson and that group. I'm part of Raise Masters. in that group in about marketing. And afterwards, I was talking to Hunter, and he said, "Hey, man, I got an idea." He said, "You're really, really, really good at what you do, and the way you do it and teach is so unique." He goes, "There's nobody in capital raising that's the active campaign guy. It's just an idea, but if you want to become that guy, it might be a blue ocean for you. Something to think about." So I was like, "Well, we're already making all kinds of big changes, right? We're only focused on the back end of the funnel, active
Sure.
campaign specific. Let's niche down further. Let's go super micro and either kill it or dry up and die on the vine, you know." But it felt like a good move. I'd worked with probably 8 capital raisers up to that point. So we made that pivot. January was the best month ever. We've surpassed that this October, but it's been a really good year. It's been a great move. I've met a lot of people. I've become a limited partner in my own deal. We've started a capital raising company for next year. We haven't done anything with it yet, but it's been a really interesting thing. So when people say the riches are in the niches, it's no joke.
Mm-hmm.
But the point of all this is none of this was planned, right? I was not so married to my own ideas that I wasn't willing to pivot when I saw an opportunity that made sense. I was like, is this in line with what we want to do and where we want to go? Yes. Okay, let's give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? So there's my
Yeah.
long-winded answer of my story.
Well, no, no. I mean, that's there's so many parallels that I want to take out and unpack here. Number one, you said it already. Niches are in the riches, and what Mark Sitch always says, CEO of ADPI, he says, if you want to be successful, go
Yeah.
inch wide, mile deep.
Yep.
Pick a niche, and this parallel is for real estate investing. Like, hey, there. I was on a podcast yesterday. We were talking about this. You want to start in real estate, Jason. Let's put your real estate investor hat on, which you are a real estate investor. There are so many freaking opportunities or
Oh yeah.
options. They're
Yep.
not even opportunities yet. It's almost paralyzing. I mean, we're talking long-term rentals, single family, small multifamily, short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, the mobile home parks, this, that, like it just goes on and on and on and on. Car washes, this, that, like there's so much stuff you can do. And it's like, people just get like kind of like frozen. Like when you try to put like, those boots on like a dog and they're just like trying to walk around and they can't, like not to say that I did that to my brother's dog recently. But but no, but that's what it's like. Cause you just don't know where to step and you
Yeah.
feel like that you're just gonna, you're gonna screw up. So for you, you, you did something, and I've heard this similar story from other entrepreneurs when they get started, especially when they're leaving corporate America. The people who bet on themselves and and they literally put their backs up against the wall. They usually find success one way or another. Now you had that situation. You went back to corporate America, but you went back. What were you doing before you left the first time? What kind of job was it?
HR. So I
Okay,
was in
so you're doing human
HR.
research. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're
Well,
doing HR, and then you like kind of started like dabbling in marketing and blogging, but you didn't really know, and you freaking went all in, which I love,
yep.
and you failed, and that's
Yep.
okay. But you failed forward, and then you took a
Failed
job in,
badly.
well, yeah, failed badly, but failed forward. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think there's any entrepreneur, myself included, who hasn't started and failed a business.
Yeah.
But as you learned something from that, and then you went and applied it, and you said, okay, well, I know I like this, but let me find a job that's sales related so I can kind of hone this process a little bit. You didn't go back to HR, to something that you hate.
No. Mm-mm.
How many people do you know in your circle, or that just stay in their job and they freaking hate it every single day, but they stay there because they're afraid to leave?
Yeah.
Like pretty much everyone, right?
Yep.
So, like betting on yourself, while it's scary and risky and you might have to sell off some guns or whatever you can, like whatever you have, it's something that you force yourself to either sink or swim. And you it could be the greatest thing that you ever do for yourself. It was one of the greatest things I've ever done for myself.
Yep.
Scary as all get out, like terrifying. Not, it's not like you're like, joyfully like, going down the yellow brick road all happy, as you leave your W-2, but it's also like, hey, I got to do this. And it's incredible how much more productive you can be when you actually like doing what you're doing. Like
Oh
the
yeah.
amount of work that you would get done in and I'm not saying you hated your HR job, but in my job where I wasn't fulfilled as an officer in the Air Force, I would be like, I would do like literally like an hour of work a day, and then the other 9, 10 hours, I was just waiting for the day to be done. And then when I
Yep.
got out, I was like, oh my god, like not only do I love doing the work that I'm doing now, but it's like 9, 10 hours goes by like that, and I've done I was as productive as like 2 weeks of me being in the Air Force, and I get compensated for that. So
Yep.
it's like, it's really cool. So anyway, I'm kind of going down a tangent here, but the point I'm trying to circle back and make is bet on yourself. And there's a lesson for that: inch wide, mile deep, niche down. And, and Jason, you've proved that to be successful. So let's, and it's great that you brought up Hunter Thompson. I love that guy. I've been on his show, and he's been on our show. I can't remember what episode, maybe like 50, 60 episodes ago. Really great talking about capital raising. But, when you mentioned some terms in there that I want to circle back and touch on. Blue ocean. What does that mean?
So blue ocean, it's a Russell Brunson term, to my knowledge. It basically means you have no competition. The other option is a red ocean, and you kind of think of it as shark infested waters, right? Um, I wanted to say this in your last point, and I'll bring it up here because it's important. But the thing that motivated me more than anything was people rooting for my failure and saying you can't do it. All right, I have two moods: happy or furious. Right? When I get mad in business, guess what? Stuff gets done
Which one
because
are
there's
you now?
I'm happy. This
Okay,
is me
good.
happy.
Just making sure you're not like a psychopath. You're like, I'm furious.
No, but it's like, Frank Sinatra has a quote I love: "The greatest revenge is massive success," and that's all I would think about. But anyway, like I remember I was on a podcast one time, and ironically, it was a real estate investing podcast, and I really didn't even understand what it was years ago. And after the show, this host was like, "Hey, you're going to fail, right?" And I was like, "What?" It's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You're in a red ocean." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, there's so many marketers out there. You're not doing anything special." And this guy, and I remember looking at him like, "Dude, you don't know me. Like, I'm not failing." So what he was saying is, how many roofers do you know? How many landscapers? How many people that
Mhm.
sell insurance? How many marketers? Like, it is a low barrier to entry diamond dozen industry as a whole. But as you start to drill down and separate yourself and see needs that nobody else is paying attention to, you can make it a brand new industry. And that's the blue ocean, man. I'm the shark, and that's probably, it sounds like the wrong term, but I'm swimming in waters where there's nobody trying to, get my clients. So it's a really interesting time. I anticipate competition at some point, but we do things very uniquely so that I'm going to deter competition from trying to do what we do. It's going to be very intimidating for them. So
Yeah, and you know what, the ADPI story is very similar to that. When Markion started this 6 years ago, and went down this path long before me. He said, "Listen, I want to. It's who do you want to serve?" And he
yep,
wanted to serve the military community as a Naval Academy graduate. And he had some experience in real estate. He literally just started writing blogs, and he started to find traction, and people saying like, "Oh man, this is really cool." And then you step back when that first person says, "Oh man, this is kind of cool," and especially if that person has some sort of authority like Hunter Thompson, who says like, "Hey, Jason, like you might be onto something here."
yeah,
It's not like you just like jump in and be like, "Oh, okay, Hunter." No, you probably like step back, look at your whiteboard, and said, and then you start. What I would do is start Googling. I'd be like, all this stuff and like trying to find other competition and try to do a little social spying and see what's out there. And then you see it's like, hey man, like this, there's not much else going on. While there may be some competition, they don't focus specifically on what you're focusing on, or in
yep,
ADPI's case, on on helping and serving the military community.
yep,
They're obviously there's first command and there's this, but they do different things.
yep,
And, they've been around longer and blah, blah, blah. But point is that you niche down with your strategy and you can find this blue ocean, which I love. And there are so many parallels to real estate investing in that.
there is.
Um, and like, I don't want to be like the guy that says you can't be successful as a single family real estate investor, because you absolutely can. You absolutely can. But if you are more of a risk taker and maybe you're interested in expanding your wings a little bit and trying a new strategy, maybe you can try short-term rentals, even though that's pretty much like, lots of competition. But maybe you can go and say, oh, let me try like, I don't know, residential assisted living. Okay, there's way less competition there. Let me try self storage. And then when you pick this class, then you got to niche down, like those multifamily guys, and they don't just say, "Oh, I want to invest in multifamily." They say, "What do we say?" We say you got to determine your criteria. Like I want 10 to 20 units in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. At this price point that cash flows this amount of money, meeting these metrics. Boom, that's what you get. That's your
Yep.
niche. Like
Yep.
that's what you're doing. Become a master at that, and then move on to something else. So, talking capital raising, as I'm wearing the ADPI Capital swag right now. Uh, so we use ActiveCampaign for everything. So for all the listeners who get emails from me, I'm sorry. Some of them are not from me. Well, they're from me. Technically, I write them, but
Yeah.
they're a bit automated. But if you reply and I reply back to you, those are the legit ones. So remember that if you're listening and you want to get in touch with me, just reply to one of my emails. But yeah, Jason, like talking capital raising, and for folks who are listening to this podcast who are capital raisers, what are some tips and tricks that you have in store for them, or that you would kind of tell them to focus on beyond the step of like, all right, get a CRM, then what?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I think is important to address is who they're targeting, right? I hate it when I talk to a new capital raiser or somebody struggling to find traction, and I say, "Who's your ideal passive investor?" When they say anybody with money, I just
Yikes.
lean my head back and slam it into the desk a few times. I'm like, we got to go more narrow because
Furious
if you,
Jason. Furious Jason.
well, it's like if you don't know what you're going to find out, everybody's targeting those people from somewhere for
Yeah.
buy luxury cars, buy this, buy that. There's so much competition. So I always tell people like tell me about your story, and if they came out of corporate America and say I'm just going to make up something, say they were in tech, right? High income tech, target a former version of yourself to start with. You're going to know how to speak that language better. You're going to know where to find those people, and you can always niche down as opportunities present themselves. But it's a good idea. And sometimes people go, "Oh yeah, I never thought about that." And at least it gives you a more narrow focus with your marketing, right? The biggest mistake I see capital raisers make is after people join their email list, nothing happens, right? And they're like, "Well, I don't have a deal right now." Okay, here's a wild idea. Build a relationship. Like start talking. Tell people what they can expect. What asset classes do you like? What markets do you like? Why? Why should they care? Like it's like any relationship in life you care about, you need to nurture that by having conversation. What a concept, right? So working through some of that stuff is something that a lot of capital raisers need help with. They understand passive investors and they understand raising capital, but like the in between part, it's like they make it too complicated in their head, and it doesn't need to be.
Yeah. And I think for folks who may have signed up for ADPI Capital and they're like, wow, Kevin's been awfully silent about that. That is on purpose. So while we're getting qualified by the SEC, I actually can't send you stuff. I've so there's just a different process, but we're really, really close. So I will be back up for air soon with all the latest and greatest as soon as I can say more about it. It's kind of super secret squirrel right now. But to your point, Jason, yes, I mean, you have to keep people aware, and people always think, when I joined ADPI years ago, I didn't know anything about digital marketing, like nothing. And
Mm-hmm.
Markion and our CMO Joe Buchanan took me under, a little baby Kevin under their wings, and they said, okay, this is like, and you just start getting around it beyond just social media stuff. I mean, I think everyone
Yeah.
kind of understands social media. You can pay for ads, and sometimes they work, most of the times they don't. But like there's that. But emails, people check emails. So having these automations set up and organized and regularly going out in what we like to call a nurture sequence is super, super powerful because it's a touch point.
Yep.
And, in marketing, it used to be, Jason, I'm going to ask you this question. When I started marketing and looking very deep into it, like the last 3 years, it was like, all right, you need 7 touch points from someone to get them to do something. Now I've heard like, what have you heard lately in the marketing? I've heard it's like way more.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I actually did this research in my company this year. Back in the day, I worked at Angie's List, which I think is called Angie now. And I think I was telling somebody else's story yesterday on a podcast, but my boss back then, really good dude, was like, hey, if you want to sell more, you make more money, you need to make more touch points. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, how many times are you calling your prospects? I'm like, 2 or 3. And he's like, why is that all you're doing? So I don't want to bug them. He's like, well, they're either going to buy or not buy. So if you bug them and they still don't buy, have you really lost anything? And I was like, I guess not. He said, we found it takes like 15 to 18 touch points to make a sale. And I was like, I'm not doing that. He's like, well, enjoy your limited income. So we fast forward to this summer, right? Years later, probably 10 years later. And I start thinking about this. I go, I wonder how many touch points it takes for me to make a sale. So I'm going to start paying attention to it for a couple of months and just see what happens. So I started noticing most people were closing by email 5 in my follow-up campaign after the sales call. So I started counting these touch points. It's about 15. And I would have never guessed that. I would have guessed it was 4 to 5. A guy yesterday I spoke to said, well, aren't you worried about annoying them? No. I said, I've had 2 people this year say, man, you send a lot of emails and I wish it wasn't so many. But here's what's interesting. Both of them bought. Both of them I have met face to face. Both of them I have broken bread with and developed friendships with. And I say to them now, hey, person, are you still upset with me? They're like, no, I'm glad. It's one of the best things that's happened in my business this year. And it's great knowing you as well. So here's the perspective you need to have with touch points. It's not about annoying them, right? It's awfully vain to think you're the only person emailing the people that are getting your emails. Think about how much competition there is for all of our attention on a daily basis. Family, friends, pets, emails, texts, messenger services, social media. It's unbelievable, right?
Crazy.
All you're trying to do is stay top of mind. And if you send somebody an email and you don't email them again, they're going to forget about you, not because you're forgettable, because there's too much stuff coming at them. So email's great. I use email and two-way text together every chance I possibly can, because text takes things to another level altogether. It's better engagement, better deliverability. And if you opt in for my lead magnets, guess what? You're giving me your text. You're not getting them. So it's a great thing. Build a clean list, a targeted list, an engaged list. It's some of the best advice I could ever give you.
Yeah. And let's bring it back, because we said a lot of marketing things, and I know me and you, like, I'm picking up what you're putting down, but I could just see the person listening to this podcast in the gym or driving right now and be like, what on God's name is a lead magnet? So a lead magnet, guys, a lead magnet is like that, something that you're, if we're taking this to the capital raising thing, something that a prospective investor would find valuable, whether it's like, hey, the 5 best markets to invest in the right now in 2022 or 2023 or whatever, or hey, the sign up for my newsletter. That's a big one. You know, if people will find that your content is valuable, or something like that. And it's always one of those things where you got to put your email in, or you got to put your phone number in, or both, or one or the other. Or it could be even something as, hey, book a call with me.
Yep.
So any of these things, they're when you have your landing page, which is a page on your website where people go and they can look in like 3 seconds, figure out, okay, this is Jason Wright, this is what he does, and this is what he's offering right now.
Yep.
And all on that one page. They don't have to scroll a million places and whatever. And there's going to be a button down there that is called a call to action, or a CTA. I'm going to have to put like a glossary of marketing terms after people. I'm realizing this, like, me and you are like marketers and we're like nerding out over here, but like people listening to this are like, wow, what is this? So any of the emails that you've seen from me, and sometimes there's a button in there, that's a call to action, right? And what that does is it drives people where you want them to go, hopefully to some sort of value. And
Yep.
you want to offer a ton of value. Like, everyone, I don't know anyone who doesn't like something for free, especially when something is perceived as extremely valuable to them.
Yep.
And that could be knowledge. It could be some sort of lecture series that you've done. It could be your newsletter. It could be just your time, like booking a call on your calendar.
Yep.
Like, there you go. But in order to do that, nothing is technically free. While it doesn't cost money, most lead magnets don't cost money. Some do. What they do cost is email and sometimes phone number, contact information.
It's
So if you're,
simply value in exchange for an email address, is the most basic way to describe it.
yeah, exactly. And so then boom, you're put on a nurture sequence, and a nurture sequence is, it's just a whole bunch of emails, but talk to me, Jason, about a nurture sequence and what a powerful CRM like Active Campaign can do within the email marketing sphere.
Yeah, I mean, on a basic level, you can control the frequency at which you're reaching out to people. You can select how many days between emails, that type of thing. So you can kind of control the intensity of your messaging. Some people are very aggressive. Some people are very the other way. Most people are somewhere in between. On the more advanced side, there's some amazing AI tools where you can actually send emails when an individual contact is most likely to open it based on past behavior. There's all kinds of crazy things you can do, but to be able to set up kind of the plan and let people flow through it at the time intervals and with the conditions you set is a really powerful thing.
Yeah, and they create these flows, and if you could just picture kind of these tree branch flows of like, okay, Active Campaign will ask you like, when should we send this first email? Like, what's the
Yep.
trigger? And
Yep.
usually the trigger is like, hey, they got my lead magnet,
Yep.
and now I want to nurture them with really high quality, high value information. Or maybe we had a call already. Maybe they were on a sales call with Jason, and now Jason's like, okay, I want to get them more information about the product offering that I have, or the limited time product, or whatever you're offering. Let's get them that information, and that way they can make a decision, because a lot of people, unless they're super fans already, they're not going to buy like instantly,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
So you need to nurture these folks with quality information, and just keep top of mind, top of inbox. And then I love the two-way text. What is that?
So two-way text, like within Active Campaign, I use a program called Sales Message because Active Campaign's texting is pretty anemic. But two-way texting means that if you text them from an automation and they respond, you'll actually know about it and you can talk back. So it's normal texting in iPhone or Android terms. It's normal back and forth texting. But when people book calls or after calls, I send little messages, and you can do three things with text, right? Keep it short, keep it conversational. You can direct tension elsewhere. Hey, Kevin, did you see the email I sent you yesterday? You can share a link. Hey, check out the webinar about this new raise, this new property we got if you want to. Or you can ask an open ended question. And the reason you would do that, conversation is what leads to conversions. It either keeps the conversation going or starts a new one. And I find with me, most people who want to talk further after a call or after getting a lead magnet, it comes through text, not email. Email is easy to ignore because it's not new technology, right? It's easy to say, I'm interested, I'll get to it later. Text covers up the screen on your phone. It's a little bit more in your face. There's a lot less competition in text. So, for whatever reason, people are just very comfortable engaging through text. Like the conversations are not corporate, type writing. It's very conversational, like a family or friend, even though you may have never talked to the person. So it's just it puts people in a different mindset, but it's very, very effective, and it's a great medium to use for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And I love what was the software that it's a third party. What's it called? The two-way text?
Sales Message.
Sales Message. Okay. And then the cool thing, one of the other cool things about Active Campaign, and most CRMs out there, your big boys, your MailChimps, your HubSpots, your Active Campaigns, they have direct integrations with
Yep.
tons, hundreds of different third party softwares where you can go and just work it right into sales message right in. So like picturing that flow, okay, the trigger happens when they get my lead magnet, maybe they get 2 or 3 emails, and then maybe on the a week after the call they get a text message. It says, hey, like you said, hey, did you see the email I just sent you about the limited time offer? Or whatever, you could say whatever you want.
Yeah.
And when those people reply, you're absolutely right. So it goes right to your phone and it looks like a text, or are you texting through the sales message app?
So I send all my texts through Active Campaign automations, right? So it's just part of the flow. There's an app on the phone, so when people reply, it shows up and it looks like a regular text, but it has a little sales message icon, and I can just respond right from the phone. The beauty is Active Campaign will record both sides of all those conversations automatically into the CRM for you. So
Oh, that's
whether you
great.
need
So you
that
can
for a
go back
compliance,
to that contact and say,
yep,
hey, this guy texted me back. We were talking about this, and then he kind of ghosted me for a while. But you can
yep,
manually go and then say, and re-engage that conversation.
absolutely, yep,
Yeah. And I love what you said, Jason, about conversations lead to conversions in capital raising, in everything, whether you're selling a
yep,
product online, whether you're, whether you're doing anything, relationships in business, that's number one. That is
yep.
100% across any business spectrum I've ever experienced, not just real estate. relationships lead to conversions. That's it. That's just
Absolutely.
simple.
Yep.
So how can you nurture those relationships? And text message is a great way. um, no, I love that. So, kind of combining these strategies, email and text messaging is super great. And then also think about, the organizational side of a CRM like Active Campaign. You can
Yeah.
go and set up these pipelines, or in Active Campaign, they're called deals technically, but it's like a deal
Yeah.
pipeline
Yep.
where when someone goes, actually, I'll let you answer this, Jason. Like what is a deal pipeline, and why should people consider it if they're raising capital?
Yeah, to keep it simple, it's the visual interface for the customer journey, right? If you're raising capital and somebody's potentially interested in investing, if you start in your mind, if you think starting on the left is colder, and as you work to the right, it gets warmer, it might look like this: book to call. Maybe you presented options for them to become an investor, even if you don't have a deal. If they're thinking about it, they might be nurtured there. If they give you a kind of a verbal commitment that, hey, I'd love to invest, there's another deal stage. And then finally, when you get them set up to be an investor, that can mean different things to different people. For some people, it's signing up with the portal. There's a bunch of different ways people do it, but it walks people through the different steps of that journey, going from, hey, let's have a call, to, hey, I for sure want to get in your next deal. So it's a way to have those conversations, nurture people through each of those different steps. Instead of viewing it as one step, you can view it as four or five, and it just makes for a better experience for everybody, and it does lead to more conversions. So
Yeah, 100%. And from the capital raising side, most likely if you're syndicating anyway, you're probably gonna have a portal.
yep.
So, and that portal, some of them kind of act as their own miniature CRMs.
It is.
However, you can go, at least for our portal, we use InvestNext, and
Yep.
they don't have an open API, which is technobabble for they it won't communicate directly with Active Campaign,
Yep.
because that data is protected, right? You don't want to be like having people's financial data just floating around on the internet. That's not cool.
Yeah.
But what you can do is download a list, a CSV file, a list from InvestNext, just drag and drop it right into Active Campaign. Active Campaign updates all the contacts and puts them exactly where you want to go, and they can start getting your nurture emails or your update emails or whatever. So it's super, super simple. It takes 5 seconds. And personally, what I love, that if there was a automation, of course, but it's not hard. And the
Yep.
the whole, if you compare what what you're talking about right now to the alternative of manually sending emails out to people like you did in, like, 1999, you'd have no time to do anything. You would just be like, all right, well, I guess this is my job now. I'm just manually, like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Um, like there's so much tech and help, and you can get your life back. And that's why the online and digital marketers and entrepreneurs are so successful. But I would say over the past 10, 15 years, the tech has gotten so robust on the digital
Yeah.
marketing side. You need an expert to kind of show you, or at least set you up with,
Yeah.
like, hey, this is how you do things. And like, now kind of, we built it, now they will come, kind of a thing like
Yeah.
that.
What I tell people
Yeah.
all the time is, I say, if you're digital marketing, like what we're talking about, I call it the back end, what happens after people join your list. If it's not holding you back from scaling as a capital raiser now, it will at some point in the future. If you try to scale, it will become the biggest pain in your side at some point if it's not now. So whether you work with yourself, somebody else, or me, it doesn't matter who. It doesn't change that fact. So keep that in mind. You've been warned, my friends.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, there, it can be just so difficult to keep everything there and keep organized with the different tags and the different automations and the emails and all of this stuff, that once it starts slipping away from you, rather than going to fix it, what a lot of people do is they just go and, like, okay, let me turn that automation off and let me start over and do this and let me do that. And 3-4 years down the road, you're just like looking at this thing, and it's just like it's just like giving you anxiety.
Oh
And
yeah.
you got to do a massive cleanup, or like start fresh, or maybe start with a new CRM and lose all this content. It's a whole thing. So it's, at the end of the day, having a CRM, if you are scaling your real estate business, is extremely, extremely important, because there's really no other way you can keep up with everyone. And
Yep.
all we're trying to do with the CRM, this client relationship manager, remember that big R, relationship, is have conversations, have productive, meaningful conversations. Remember, we talked about in other podcasts, what's the definition of networking? It's It's having a conversation with a purpose. And that's what
Yep.
this is. You're just doing it online in a different forum, having meaningful conversations with potential clients to get them to convert or do whatever it is you want to do in the sense of a business opportunity, right? So
Hmm.
if you can do all of that by typing out emails manually, all the power to you. I don't have that kind of time. Jason, I know you don't have that kind of time. So getting a strong CRM, and it doesn't have to be Active Campaign. You know, there's so many different ones out there now. Find one that's right for you, um, and do it that way. Before we hop into the bonus round, Jason, I do want to talk about a potential other use case in real estate for CRM, and that's in the short-term rental industry. So a lot of you who are listening to this podcast know about the Military Short-Term Rental Academy that just dropped. Part of what I do in the bonus content of that academy is talk about CRMs and advanced automation and integration. And something that I do for my rentals is collect email addresses. So when someone books or requests to book, the first message they get is, "Oh my God, thank you so much for booking this listing. Okay, first step, click this link here to fill out our onboarding form." Do I really want them to fill out an onboarding form? No, I don't care if they fill out an onboarding form. But if they fill it out, they have to provide their email address.
Hmm.
Now I have their email address. So now what happens is after they stay, it goes into MailChimp, and MailChimp knows because I'm collecting all the data they have to fill in, when they're coming, when they're leaving, all of that stuff. So then there's an automation that goes from Google Forms to ClickUp, where I manage all the project stuff, to MailChimp that drives that information, and it says, "Hey, when this person is done, a week after their stay, send them an email and say, thanks so much for staying with us. Maybe you can get some feedback about your stay, or just have a conversation, and then maybe offer them a coupon. Maybe say like, hey, if you really enjoyed your stay with us, I'd love to offer you a 10% discount. And when you book directly with me." Well, what that is going to do is, one, you're you're incentivizing people who you know, potentially could be return customers, which guess what? A lot of people do. They return to the same place. You're saving them money, right? But you're also taking it off platform. So you don't have to pay Airbnb their fees anymore, right? Which is 15% or 14% or whatever you have. And you're able to make more revenue and make repeat customers happy. It's a win-win because it's way harder to get a new client or a new customer than it is to keep a retain a customer. And that's just like marketing 101. But that's
Yep.
just another whole use case in real estate for CRMs that I think is easily adaptable. So, yeah, I think I covered a lot there. Jason, do you have any comments on kind of that use case?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. My wife and I just went to Branson in the Ozarks, same place twice in 6 weeks. And, one thing that I'm seeing from the people there that own the short term rentals is the request for reviews. So that's another great thing you can use automations for as well. But you are right. People are more likely to go back where they had a good experience just because you already know what to expect and that type of thing. But yeah, automation is great for that. But don't forget the reviews because it's super important with short term rentals. So.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. So having that built into your system, and whether that's your channel manager or whatever. And if you want to learn more about this stuff and you're curious, we have the Military Short-Term Rental Academy. You can just email me, Kevin@activedutypassiveincome.com, and I'll hook you up with that information on how to get in. We are full right now, but we're going to be opening up again in the future. So if you're at all interested in the Military Short-Term Rental Academy, highly recommend you get in and jump into the short-term rental game. Jason, this has been fun. We're coming to the end of the time. I can nerd out with you for hours, obviously. Happy Jason, not furious Jason. But I'm going to take you into the bonus round now. It's the same 4 questions that we ask each and every one of our guests. Excuse me. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. This is probably an obvious one for you. What book or software has really been crushing it for you lately?
I'm going to throw you a curveball. I'm going to say Sales Message. Sales
Ooh.
Message, the two-way texting platform, has added a couple hundred extra grand to our business a year. It's just changed everything for us. But powered by Active Campaign, but Sales Message has been the absolute freak show.
So let me talk to you about that before we move on to the next question. Is it like ManyChat, where it's connecting all the different social platforms and kind of you're able to text, or is it just text message?
Just text. It's simpler. So there's some calling features and stuff as well, but it's way simpler than ManyChat. And you don't have Facebook trying to govern what you say and stuff as well. So,
Sure.
yep.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool, because I know ManyChat, we use that for Instagram messages and Facebook, and it collects it all, and it's great. But I believe we can send text messages through it. Do
I
you
think you
pay
can.
per? Do you pay through per text message? Is that how it
Yeah,
works?
most places
Like,
do like credits. You get so many credits, and yeah, yep,
but if it's converting for you, I mean, who cares? Like
absolutely.
and it's, I can guarantee you, actually, yes, I can 100% guarantee you that is significantly cheaper than paid traffic on social media,
Oh
because
yeah,
that is
absolutely.
bananas.
Yep.
Um, so, all right, cool. I love that. Question number 2: Who's your biggest hero and why?
Mm, my biggest hero, and I'm a weirdo with this stuff. I don't even know how to answer the question.
Just say you don't even
Yeah,
have
I
to
don't
answer the
know,
question.
man. I don't. It's going to sound weird. I don't pay attention to what a lot of other people are doing. I'm just so focused on forward progress till I die that I don't stop and look around what a lot of people are doing. I'm the weirdo that I look at what other people have accomplished who are way ahead of me and further down the road, and I go, they don't have anything I don't. I'm just not there yet. They're just further down the path. So that sounds like a conceited answer, but it's the real answer, man. I don't have people that I'm just starstruck with. Now, I'm not crazy. I know there's people a lot more successful, but I don't look at people in all that way. It's a
Sure.
weird thing, you know.
No, no, I
It's
don't think it's I don't think it's weird. I mean, I think, especially when you're uh, niche down into where you are in this marketing space, there's
yeah,
so many other people out there, and just seeing what they were able to accomplish and saying, like, and the same goes for any other business. Like, guys, you don't have to reinvent the wheel in business. You literally just
yep,
find someone that's done it, and as long as they have the same, I would say, core values as you, or similar core values, and they're not like dirtbags or criminals,
yeah.
then um, follow them.
I'll give
Do
you an
what they
answer.
did.
I'll
Yeah,
give you an answer. I'm a big fan of Pat Flynn, Smart Passive Income.
love Pat.
Phenomenal dude, man.
Oh yeah,
Phenomenal dude. Great story. One of the few people I've actually invested in some of their products and been real happy with. So there's my answer, Pat Flynn.
Pat Flynn's fabulous, and honestly, I think he was a big inspiration for ADPI when we were first getting started. That
Yep.
Smart Passive Income book really changed the game uh,
Yep.
for us. Awesome, man. All right, lightening it up a little bit. What do you like to do for fun?
What do I like to do for fun? I like cigars and bourbon. That's a
Okay,
thing. Golf, hunting, hiking, travel. So those are some of the things that I do. A lot of the stuff is outdoors or best enjoyed outdoors for sure.
awesome. Getting your outdoor time, and where are you located right now?
So I'm in the Indianapolis area. I'm about 35 minutes south. We do have a place out in western Wyoming in the Wind River Range as well. So looking forward to spending a hell of a lot more time out there next year going forward.
Yeah, that sounds fabulous. And the great part about being a, you know, marketing guy who runs an online business is you can do this anywhere there's internet. The world is your
Correct.
oyster so long as you have strong Wi-Fi. Uh,
Absolutely.
but and that's great. That is one of the biggest appeals to so many people who are stuck in corporate America and they're trying to get out. Is like, man, I just want to have control of my time,
Yep.
and I don't want to be tied to this desk if I don't want to be. So that's great. Final question for you, Jason. You shared a lot of nuggets with us already, and I'm going to ask you for three more, or maybe just a summary of what you've shared. If you had three nuggets for someone who is trying to get into capital raising, or maybe they're just starting out, they're listening to this podcast and like, hey man, I got this big raise coming, and I don't know what to do, or from a marketing perspective, what would those three nuggets be?
Yeah, so nugget one, and this is going to go in the entrepreneurial direction, but it's going to be relevant to everybody listening. Nugget one is be patient, right? Patience is not something that comes natural for me at all, but for us to say, I am going to accomplish this in X amount of time, it's a great goal, but guess what? The timeline's not up to you. So I have missed every timeline I've ever set for myself that way. So I don't approach things that way anymore. So does bourbon get good overnight? No. Do cigars get good overnight? No. Wine? No. Aging brings out the best in things. So enjoy the journey. Let the process take time if it needs to, because you'll have a better outcome and a better result. So rule one is be patient. Number two is don't ask the advice of people who have not done what you want to do. Right. The biggest mistake
Facts.
people make is they say, hey, I want to quit corporate America. I want to become a real estate investor. And they ask a bunch of employees that, what do you think? Should I do it? Of course, they're not going to be supportive because they haven't done anything themselves. Right. If you haven't run a successful lemonade stand, I don't care what you have to say about entrepreneurship because you're not qualified. right? Just like you don't go to your doctor and have your doctor select the interior paint color in your bedroom. It doesn't make any sense. So be careful who you're asking for advice. Okay. Number three is remember this: marketing is merely having conversations with people, real people. Okay. If you remember that, it will simplify a lot of things for you. And kind of a little piggyback on that, there is a whole bunch of ways to be successful. Do you have to do every social platform and kill it? No. Can you be successful in all of them? Absolutely. So it's empowering and overwhelming at the same time to realize there's a whole bunch of paths to success.
Yeah, I love that last one because it's really the highlight of this episode. It's about making those conversations and or having those conversations and building those relationships and building that rapport with people,
Yep.
whether they become clients of yours or not. At the
Yep.
end of the day, worst case scenario, you have a new friend. You know,
Yep.
that's the way I see it. And with that attitude, it's really going to help you in your content creation journey. Whether
Yep.
that's writing emails, whether that's engaging on social media, like you can see, like, and I'm not going to be too critical of like those big digital marketing agencies, but like the big corporate America digital marketing agencies, it's like, oh wow, this robot emailed me. But like people don't like people don't engage with like those messages, like people engage with, the content that you're putting out. And to your point on social media, it's kind of the same thing we talked about when you're getting in the real estate game and it's like, oh God, there's so many options. What do I do? Just pick one. And whichever
Yeah.
one you pick, make sure that it's one that you think based on, you have your ideal client already mapped out right in the process. That's like kind of way back in the beginning of entrepreneurship. You have that mapped out. Now you're picking your marketing channel, like how you want to
Yeah.
engage with these people. Well, email, text message is great. Yeah, but you got to get their email and text first. So
Yeah.
how can you do that from a content creation side is where are these people engaging? Where are these people want to learn more about what you're offering? And if that's maybe YouTube because they're typing in how to set up an active campaign flow, great, create some YouTube videos. That's perfect. So picking that channel is super super important. Pick with that, stay with that channel. Start. Dedicate yourself to releasing content on a regular basis for a long long time, and you'll really go far with it. So I love that advice, Jason. That's amazing. Um, for folks who want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yeah. Best way is just to go to my website, intentionallyinspirational.com. Shows you everything we're up to and what we're doing.
Intentionallyinspirational.com. I absolutely love that. And that's the thing that you popped out of bed and said, intentional
It is.
inspiration. Your wife's like, shut up, go back to bed.
Yep.
but
Absolutely.
now, but now you got something really great for you, man. I'm so happy for you, and I'm honestly, I'm super kind of excited to potentially work with you in the future on what we do with ADPI Capital as we get that off the ground and we build this back end architecture. I think it'll be really really helpful, and I'm
Awesome.
sure I will see you at a Raise Masters event at some point in the future. So, uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm excited. Thanks, man. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.